Good morning. I want to welcome you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ to this time of worship, whether you're joining us here or online, and pray that the Holy Spirit will touch our hearts as we gather together today. I have a gratitude moment. Today it comes, actually, I'm going to put Wendy on the spot. Tell us about this picture.
Oh my God, you did put me on the spot. So a few weeks back, our church's golf tournament happened over at Leroy Country Club, and we raised quite a bit of money and had a really good day, a beautiful day. And this picture, we partnered this year for the first time with Crossroads as one of our teams members for the tournament, and that is a check of $1,000 that we donated to them. So as part of
So this was a result of the golf tournament. Thank you, Wendy. You said it beautifully. See? I knew you knew this one. And so this is a picture from them giving the check of $1,000 to Crossroads House. They partnered with them this year as part of this work. So we give thanks.
They were very, very, very appreciative and very surprised at the amount. But
They were appreciative and surprised at the amount because that was a very generous gift.
it was perfect because it was
The day of the spaghetti dinner. So it all worked out perfectly. So thank you for sharing that. And so today we continue the sermon series about inflation and the cycle of blessings. We've been looking at the holy currencies that to expand our view. Since when we look at inflation, we look at a sense of scarcity. But when we look at the abundance of God, and through this lens of seeing the different currencies of our lives, we see a lot of wealth. So wealth is expanded in our sense, whether it's relationships, truth, and today we're looking at wellness, currency of money, of course, currency of time and place, and currency of gracious leadership. It's funny, I was thinking of the currency of time and place. On the 5th of November, we just had a meeting this week talking about this idea of wild church, worshiping God with nature, and somebody offered their home. The Neubauers, they live a really nice spot. I mean, their backyard is not really a backyard, they have woods behind them. So they offered that space, and I actually was thinking of the place that the Shubmills live. Same way, I could just see us going there and having wild church worship there. Again, that sense of looking at the wealth. When we started looking at all the different locations in the community, we're like, wow, we have so many beautiful spots to go to. It's going to be hard to just stick to a few. So thinking of that wealth, expanding our view of wealth, instead of living in the sense of scarcity, that this sense of inflation that's going on, the rapid inflation we're experiencing. Those of you who are going to the grocery store and seeing the prices going up, or going to the gas station, wherever we are spending money, we feel that sense of the inflation being really high. And with it, of course, the news telling us, there aren't enough resources and the market is not what we would like it to be. And all these things that make us feel like there aren't enough resources for us to feel abundance. Yet, these currencies remind us that there is abundance, and abundance comes when we share. So we keep the cycle flowing. So when we share and we receive, it's not just when we keep the stuff to ourselves, but when we share it with others. So today we're looking at the currency of wellness. And wellness, of course, we're very aware of the importance of wellness. The last 2.5, 3 years, we've experienced the pandemic and how it turned our world upside down. To think that we don't have this currency, or that currency was in short supply. So currency of wellness includes things that impact our health, but also stress, financial struggles, natural disasters, relationship trouble, or social struggles. So think about all these elements that impact our wellness. Because wellness includes all these aspects of our lives, whether it's the physical or mental, emotional, spiritual, ecological, environmental, social, many different aspects. And today I want to invite us to think about this from a spiritual perspective, the spiritual perspective of that hidden wholeness that's within each of us. So the wellness, it may be something that is deep within us. Sometimes I'm invited to be with someone at a time of illness, and I don't know if the person is going to get better, but I pray for wholeness. I always pray for wholeness, because it doesn't mean that the person is going to be cured, but they're going to experience that sense of wholeness. That's what we pray for. We trust in that wholeness that's deeper and bigger than one aspect of our lives being fixed, whether you're going to have a lot of material wealth, or your health is going to return to what it was, or whatever that we wish for. Instead, we focus on that deeper wholeness that is beyond the circumstances of life. So I want to share with you a video today from Parker Palmer, who talks about the brokenness and this sense of deep wholeness within us.
We are born with a seed of true self that contains the spiritual DNA.
Yeah, pretend. Okay, there are seeds of wholeness within us. No.
DNA of our uniqueness.
Oh, here we go.
And
please turn
encoded
it up.
birthright knowledge of who we are, why we are here, and how we are related to others. But as we travel the tricky terrain between infancy and young adulthood, still close enough to our origins to be in touch with our inner truth, but aware of the mounting pressure to play a more guarded role out there in the world, our true self starts to feel threatened.
The idea of a divided life comes first from my own experience. I'm just aware of how often in my life I have felt it necessary to build a wall of separation between what was going on inside of me and what I was expressing outside of me. We live in a world where it feels threatening to let our own identity and integrity reveal itself. And so we build this wall, partly for interior reasons, and then I think as we grow older, we work our way through a series of institutions, especially schools and the workplace, where we're actively taught to keep that wall high and wide and thick.
As the outer world makes more demands on us, we stop doing the things children do to stay closer to their souls. Things like daydreaming and play acting. And the closer we get to adulthood, the more we stifle the imagination that these things require. Why? Because imagining other possibilities for our lives would remind us of the painful gap between who we truly are and the role we play in the so-called real world. As Thomas Merton once said, most of us live lives of self-impersonation.
The problem with this, obviously, is that the self, the true self, not the little ego self, the little selfish self, but the true self, the self as we were meant to be, wants to make itself known in the world, because ultimately it's the only gift we have to give.
The soul wants us to be grounded and true, to keep us connected to the community in which we find life. It wants us to tell the truth about ourselves, our world, and the relation between the two. It wants to give us life, and it wants us to pass that gift along to others.
I really believe that the gift we have to give to each other and to the world is not first and foremost in the skills that we went to school to learn, or the trained capacities that we developed. Those are valuable, sure enough. But the selfhood that we can offer each other, the gift of identity and integrity, the gift of presence, to live a life in which you're not offering that gift, I think is somehow we know intuitively that kind of life it falls short of why we're here, who we were meant to be, how we were meant to be.
All right. So I want to invite us today to open our hearts to God. Take a deep breath. Be present to this moment of grace. God, we come before you seeking to be whole, to live out of that deep sense of wellness that you have given to each of us. No matter what the circumstances of our lives right now might be, help us to be able to access that deep place of joy, of being, and to help provide that also for others, to provide the space for our souls to emerge, for this deep sense of wellness to flourish in and around us. God, we are mindful of the many places of deep illness or brokenness in our world, and we pray, trusting in your care, but especially in the transformation that you give to each of us, to be people who know the power of soul, the power of love, the power of presence. Amen.
Please stand as you are able and sing along with us. Confusion's my companion, and despair holds me for ransom. I will feel no fear. I know that you are near. When I'm caught deep in the valley, with chaos for my company, I'll find my comfort here. 'Cause I know that you are near. My help comes from you. You're right here pulling me through. You carry my weakness, my sickness, my brokenness all on your shoulders, your shoulders. My help comes from you. You are my rest, my rescue. I don't have to see to believe that you're lifting me up on your shoulders, your shoulders. You ruined what once was shattered, and you turn my tears to laughter. Forgiveness is my fortress. Oh, your mercy is relentless. My help comes from you. You're right here pulling me through. You
be seated. So today we're again talking about inflation and the cycle of blessings as the spiritual way to look at what is going on in our world. It's an opportunity, just like everything else. When we experience difficulties, they push us to see life and to experience wellness in a new way. So the currency of wellness. What do you think when you think of the word wellness? What comes to your mind? Health, physical health, okay? So here are a few things to think about. Physical health, of course, that's immediately what comes to mind, but think of the social health. A community is healthy. A community is healthy when we see people caring about each other, when we see people living a good life. So when you think about finances too, could be another indicator of health or wellness. Ecology is very important. Right, today is a beautiful day, and think about how wonderful it is that we enjoy clean air. When you go out and you take that for granted, there are lots of places in the world where that's not the case. Or think of Florida right now, still recovering. Spiritual dimensions of our lives, so it's all connected. Wellness encompasses all these things. So the stress level, when we look at inflation, and it goes up higher when people are struggling. You're still making the same amount of money if you are retired or if you are working, but yet the prices are higher. And you're seeing it, of course, for places where there is hunger. Last week, Peter Cole was sharing with us, and I'm hoping that he will share the data with us. He went to a meeting at Cornell, and they were sharing the numbers about hunger in the world right now because of the war in Ukraine, and how it's impacting so many people on the verge of starvation. You don't think about that, but it is really a scary time for many people. So the level of stress is rising because of the rapid inflation. It's causing us to sacrifice some of the currency of health. There are people who have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to make it, and their health may not be as good as it should be because of those kinds of factors. How many of us really can get by on 5 hours of sleep? There are a few people that manage that, but most of us need more rest, or times when we can take a day off, when we can just take a breath. But it's hard to do that when you're being pushed. And for those of us who are privileged enough to not worry so much about our income, there is the busyness of life. There are chores galore. Even if you're retired, there are things to do and not enough time to do them. There's that sense always of anxiety. And if you're not anxious about your own life, you're probably bombarded by messages about anxiety about the world. So there's always this sense. And so what came to my mind is that scene from I Love Lucy. Remember the chocolate factory scene? That's how a lot of times it's like, what's coming down now on us? Like, what's next? What's the next thing that's going to come to produce more anxiety within us? So we're going to watch it. Just
All right, girls. Now this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this, okay?
comes at you, so many different things. And it is really hard to keep up and hard, I mean, when it comes to the news, there's so many things. I'm glad, Beth, you're back here with us, because I could remember the many conversations we'd be talking and then saying, oh my gosh, now I have to be an expert on this too. It's like how, so many things to know about in the world. There are so many issues. Life is always so complex. So how do we keep up while staying healthy? Because we're not meant to have this level of excitement all the time, or anxiety, even excitement. I mean, there's that sense that we gotta be always doing something big and something important, something fun. You have one experience of fun, you gotta get a better experience the next time. So there's that sense also, even when it comes to fun things, we do too much of that, even because that sense of rest is gone from our mentality. Because you gotta be on the productive or consuming side always. You're either producing stuff or consuming stuff. So how do we deal with it? And of course, I've been thinking, oh my gosh, I started thinking, do we deal with the physical piece or the mental piece, or do we deal with the environment? I mean, there are so many aspects to it. And then the scripture, of course, always help ground us. How did the people before us deal with this? What was God's way to help people through it? What can we learn from them? And what I came to is this word. It's part of the Ten Commandments: Sabbath keeping, Sabbath rest. Sabbath as in taking time to rest, making sure that others have time to rest too. Because it's not just about us being selfish and taking a day off and not caring that there are people in our community that can't afford to take a day off because they're caregiving all the time, or they're working all the time, or they're sick all the time and nobody cares. There are lots of aspects to this. So the Ten Commandments were given to the Israelites as they were leaving Egypt. They were being freed from slavery by Moses. God called Moses to get them out of slavery. In slavery, what happens for enslaved people, for slaves? What's the big deal about slavery? Why do we think it's bad? So what does that mean? They can't make their own choices, but there's more to it. They're working all the time. So you can't rest. You can't say, well, I gotta take a day off. If your master or your owner said, you know, there's no time to rest, that's just the way it is. They set the schedule for you to work, that's the way it is. If you had to sleep at their feet at night in case they needed help, that's what you did. All that meant that people were living not a free life, to make their own decisions, to feel human. What was human about them was taken away from them. So the Ten Commandments, of course, were part of a bigger set of teachings, but Moses was given these to tell the people, because they left Egypt, they were able to be freed. Now they're going into a different land. They're wandering in the wilderness. They're learning a different way to live. Because what happens to people is that we get from one problem, we finish one problem, we repeat the same pattern of behavior. Have you ever had that experience in your life? Where you're like, no, never. You never repeat the same stuff. You're like, why am I in the same spot again? Why am I having the same issue again? And it's not that, you know, that you're always responsible, but we do tend to repeat the same pattern of behavior. And so the pattern of behavior is to exploit others. There's always that tendency in humanity to say, you know, these people don't deserve rest, or these people don't deserve this. Like, they didn't work hard enough. I worked harder than them, or I was born into privilege in a different way. Doesn't matter how we justify it, we find ourselves in the same spot. So the Ten Commandments were given so people would practice the best ways of living without those exploitation ways, without being envious. Envy is one of those things. Why? Why is envy a bad thing? It feels awful, but it also causes us to do bad things to our neighbors. when we're jealous of them, we don't want their well-being to be better than our well-being. We always feel better if they're down. Somehow, you know, you pick on people and you say bad things because underneath it is the belief that we have, if they are not doing well, we must be doing better, and that feels good. But it ends up not feeling good because our wellness is connected. So the 10 Commandments had all these teachings to help the people live a different way of life, to live a way of freedom. So for the people, the keeping the Sabbath was very important because in slavery, they couldn't keep a Sabbath. They didn't have a way of rest. But it also tells them that everybody in their land was supposed to take time to rest. So it wasn't just the people, it was anyone connected to them was supposed to be able to rest. So rest became an important piece. One of the images that I love comes from Walter Brueggemann in his book Peace, and other places. He uses this image of the brickyard. So he talks about it as a metaphor for slavery, but I feel like it speaks to our reality today, even though we're not living as slaves, we're enslaved to other things. A brickyard is a place of competent production, he says. It is where bricks are made to specification and on schedule. The brickyard is also a place of coercion and profit. The brickyard is a place of unhappiness, oppression, and of course, enormous hostility. Not only must we produce for the others, but there is no prospect, not in our wildest imagination, that things are ever going to change. There will never be enough bricks to meet the quota. I loved in the scene from I Love Lucy, she said, this is not fair. It's not, we can't keep up. There's no way. It's just, you get to the point of giving up. Like, that's just the system. That's the way it's supposed to be. But God says it doesn't have to be. And Sabbath is so counterintuitive. When you're so busy, you feel like have you ever said to yourself, I wish there was, 36 hours in the day. Or I wish, I had more of this in order to be able to do that. All of this because we feel like if we have more time, we'll use it better. In the 1940s and 50s, they were imagining a time when people would have machines to do things for them. And they imagined, believe it or not, that people would have more time for leisure and fun and relaxation and family. And we laugh. Because now, remember the old days when you had to put a stamp and write a letter and put a stamp on it and all of that? Well, those are gone, and yes, it was a long process to do that, but email has not solved a lot of our problems. It's made it worse. How many of us really, a lot of times, don't keep up with our emails? It's like a nightmare some days. I'm like, oh, do I dare look at this? And it's like, no, I have to say to myself, okay, today we're just going to pretend this doesn't exist. Because you can't get things done. And at the same time, also find mental rest because it just keeps you going. So machines were supposed to, and technology, they were supposed to help us find more rest. But they added complexity to our lives. They added more stuff. So Sabbath rest is counterintuitive. When you feel like you need more time, taking time away and off actually realigns you to what's important. Your health becomes the center to say, my health is part of my wealth. It's part of God's wealth in the world. If I don't take care of this gift, if this is not seen as the temple of the Holy Spirit, my body, my soul, then none of it matters. So Sabbath is not about taking just a day off. It's about withdrawing from that system of anxiety, from the system, you think of Pharaoh as a metaphor for us. Refusal to let one's life be defined by production and consumption, an endless pursuit of private well-being. So you're always looking out for number one, thinking of community, thinking of society. And so today I want to invite you to consider, what are your practices that help you practice Sabbath? Of course, we can't do the old days. Those of us, Sherry, did you get to go to any place where it was the Sabbath day in Israel? So tell us, what did you experience there?
On the Sabbath,
Yes,
we were actually at the Dead Sea, and
Yeah.
we were floating in.
you're floating at the Dead Sea. Oh, how perfect is that? But they have I mean, they take it very seriously to the point of saying, you get on the elevator opens at every door, at every floor, and you don't have to push any buttons. This way you don't have to do any work. I mean, that's a little extreme in my book because I think pushing a button is not that big of a deal, but it's the idea to help a society that says, you gotta take a day of rest. And in our day, in modern day, you can't really do it that way. The practices in society, the blue laws where people, there was no soccer games or any of that stuff on Sunday, the stores are closed. And I love that right now for Thanksgiving, did you see that a lot of the stores are closing? So we don't go out and shop like crazy people. Instead of enjoying ourselves on a day, a holiday that's supposed to be about Thanksgiving, not about consumption. And so think about those things that help you practice Sabbath, rest, whatever that means for you. And it's not, as I said, it's not about legalistic, being, not touching anything, not cooking a meal, but really thinking of rest. What helps you really rest? Resting your mind, resting your spirit, connecting your soul to what's happening, and allowing others to experience that rest too. Making sure that it's not just you that have the privilege to take the day off, but others in society. You should be asking, are we a community that really values rest? Do we look at workers reporting and saying what they did for fun? What helped them recover from a sense of being used all the time? So whether we're working or not working, getting paid for a job or not getting paid for a job, it's the cycle of, think about being unplugged for a little while. Do you take some time to just leave the phone not working? Yesterday I went to Letchworth State Park, and I love that park, but the phone doesn't work there, if you've noticed. I'm out in nature and I'm sitting. I mean, there's the worrisome part for me. It's like, well, I'm on these trails by myself, and there's no phone service. I'm like, wow, in the old days, that was normal. We didn't think of safety and all of that. Why would I be so concerned? But it is very interesting to think about those things. When you go to a place, there's no phone service. It's like, oh, what a horrible place. Maybe it's a wonderful place. Maybe it's what we need, to not be on the phone or being accessible all the time, or letting the world be, the news flashes. You're sitting probably here in worship or at home. The phone, oh, what happened? Wait, my phone, it's funny, it just flashed. And I'm sure it's nothing really crazy, but I want to know, is the world okay? Start your week smart. China, Hurricane Rosalind, Boris Johnson, Red Bull, January 6th. All right, great mix. I love that Red Bull is in the mix to get us amped up. But to think about the news, to think about all the stuff that we do to ourselves to not have Sabbath, even when we're, when you give people time to rest, what's the first thing you notice? Take a second for just notice what you notice. Don't judge it. Just close your eyes for 10 seconds. All right. What do you notice? Children playing, okay. Ben disappeared. We lost Ben. He was his exit strategy. The minute they close their eyes, I'm out. Okay. All the uncomfortable, oh yes, all the uncomfortable stuff starts stirring up sometimes in us. It's like, oh, I don't want to, being busy is perfect because you don't have to deal with the stuff. You don't have to think, you don't have to process feelings and all of that. So it's kind of a good recipe for not dealing with stuff. So noticing that it's very important, and it's not always easy to take rest because your mental stuff is going too. You start thinking, okay, you're starting to process. If you take a few minutes to pray, to just be quiet, what happens is that your mind is just keeps going. It's like on overdrive. If you notice your thoughts, they're all over the place. I mean, wow, it's pretty powerful when you think about it. You probably thought about your home, your lunch. Within 10, 15 seconds, you probably covered 10 different topics in your mind because it's hopping. And that's why they call it monkey mind, because it's all over the place. So Sabbath keeping is about personal and communal practices that help us to focus on what's valuable. Really thinking about that currency of wellness. Really saying, we gotta encourage each other to take time off, to take time not off from work, because sometimes, as I said, you're not working. You're just on the treadmill of life, of being just always on, and your mind has no rest, and you have no access. Parker Palmer talks about this hidden wholeness. Well, you have no access to that when you're always on. There's no time to process. So the ability to rest is an essential measure of our social well-being. And to think about it too also for society. Are people too stressed out? Are people on the edge all the time? Look at the indicators of society and the rise of use of drugs. Is it because they are more accessible? Could be. Is it because people are more stressed out? Is it because people are not learning to handle life without drugs? There are so many different factors that go into that, but you think about that, and you think about the overuse of substances that hurt our bodies, that make us unwell, just because we have to keep this cycle of consumption and production going so much. So today I want to invite us to turn to our neighbors and talk to them about Sabbath and what's surprising for you about the importance of Sabbath. How might you practice it today, or how might we practice it today? How do you reconnect with your inner wholeness on a regular basis? All right. I know we could be talking for a long time, so I'm just gonna interrupt and say, Dondrell here reminded me of the importance of Sabbath also for worshiping God, putting God in as the center of our lives. So it's not just a day off, but it's also a day to reconnect to our Creator. So it's a very important part of our lives. When we don't have time for God, when you're always saying your prayers on the run, and there's not enough time to commune. Yes,
I'm
Wendy.
just thinking about my mother because now
Yes.
she has this beautiful window,
Yes.
and all she does is watches the birds.
She watches the birds and how it brings her such a sense of wholeness. Yeah.
She does have the phone, but
Yes.
her phone, but and then like where she sits for dinner and lunch and breakfast, they have her seated correctly, so it's like a zoo of birds in the area where they have.
Beautiful.
This is where I would watch my birdies, and you know,
Yes.
it's just.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
so
TV is
powerful.
hardly ever on.
The TV is hardly ever
So
on
you
because,
talk about Sabbath.
yes, Sabbath, because she's, again, ultimately, that's what we're really preparing for, to live in the fullness and joy of God's presence. We're training. This is our time on earth to train to live that way. And so to really watch the birds and enjoy that. And, you know, being productive is not bad. It's just when it's such a drive that it becomes an idolatry. It becomes so important, more important than what God created us to be. When we're so driven, even if our work is saving the world, even if you're a medical professional or teacher, changing lives, whatever it is that you're doing, you're not making a ton of money, you're just really serving the world, saving people at court or whatever, it's still, it could go to the other side. Yes. So staying still enough to really connect to the purpose of why you're being productive. Very important stuff to take time to rest. Yes. Jesus walking on water? Yes. Right? Right. Yeah. Right. What is that? Oh yes, that's a good story of trusting God. So there's Jesus walking on the water and Peter going out and then drowning and asking for help. Yes. Storm, yes. Right? And Jesus calmed the storm. Yes. So remembering these stories is really important, and that's why, you know, these practices, taking time to really reconnect to your soul, to reconnect to the earth, to reconnect to community, because again, we're moving so fast all the time. Even if you're not moving fast physically, your mind is moving so fast. So again, getting back to that original story of goodness, that wholeness, that hidden wholeness. And again, you put on the productive self or the consumer. You see people at stores being rude to attendants. What's that about? What's that about? You think, why are you going into the store so angry anyway? If you're so angry and ready to take somebody's head off just over nothing, maybe you need some Sabbath time. You know, I mean, think about it. Think about when we're so on the edge because we're so driven by fear, by anxiety. And inflation is definitely part of that picture of not realizing how it's impacting us each day, feeling that sense of deficit. So today I want to invite us to watch a prayer video. And again, it's about rest, about reconnection. I invite you to consider in your life how you're cultivating that sense of wellness in your children, in your grandchildren, in whatever connection that you have in the people of your life at work, people of your life at home or in the community, wherever it is, but starting with ourselves. Because it's easy to preach to others, you should take some time off. I do it all the time. And then I have a hard time taking time off. It's like, you know, you gotta practice this stuff. So you speak from a place of authentic sharing, of a place of deep love, where you are really not in that role all the time, of whatever role that might be. So I invite you to enjoy this prayer and take it with you for this week.
God of holy rest, on the seventh day you paused, laying down the work of creation, and entered into sacred stillness. Let us remember we were freed from slavery in Egypt, and you called us to be people of liberation. Kindle in us the strength to say no to a world of perpetual busyness. Inspire us to set aside all of our plans and goals to receive the lavish gift of rest for ourselves. Let the Sabbath be a time of profound renewal, of intimate connection with you, and a rekindling of our holy desires to be of service. Sustain in us the desire to simply be, and not succumb to the demands of productivity and an endless string of achievements. Let our lives be a loving witness to a world of restoration and refreshment, of the profound goodness of joy and delight, taking pleasure in the generous gift of pausing.
Amen. Please rise as you are able and join us in song.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Thou my wisdom and thou my true worth. I ever with thee and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father and I thy mutual Son. Thou in me dwelling and I with thee one. As I heed not nor man's empty praise, thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only first in my heart, I
for the blessing. These words from Exodus 20, starting at verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not work, neither you nor your son or daughter, your male servant or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. But God rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Go in peace to keep the Sabbath and to love God and to align your priorities with all that gives us wellness and health. Amen.